don't drive.
Okay, Joyce. Cindy. Okay, Cindy.
You want me to ask her now?
Yeah.
Mama, do you remember the first day you went to work?
Yeah.
You remember walking into the mill?
Yeah.
And were you scared?
Sure.
Was it real noisy?
Well, the cloth room wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
No.
How old were you when you went in there?
I was 13.
So you quit school, right?
I quit school in 5th grade.
Really? Did you have to quit?
No.
You didn't have to?
They just didn't make me go back. I lived with my grandparents and they didn't make me go. I walked from North Coolamy to the old schoolhouse up here. And Rose Tatum was my teacher. And I didn't like her. And in the 5th grade, I just quit school and got me a job in the cloth room and went to work.
Well, you remember when you went in the spinning room?
Yes, after I got married.
Was the lint real bad then?
Yes, terrible.
Did anybody ever call you a lint head?
Yeah.
You remember that word, those words?
I remember that word. We had old Swiss brooms we'd brush off with, some when we'd start home, and then we had air hose, but they wouldn't let us use it. If they caught us using air hose to blow it off of us, they'd scold us and make us quit. But sometimes we'd slip around and use air hose and blow the lint off of us. But we was called lint heads.
How'd you feel about being called a lint head?
I didn't like it, of course.
I bet not.
Called us cotton mill trash.
That's more or less changed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did that and why?
I don't know why. Just people from other places. They'd say them old Coolamy cotton mill trash, lint heads.
So they look down on cotton mill workers as a lower class of citizens.
Especially people in Moxville.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
How did you? Had asked her if she'd ever been in the mill before.
Oh, okay, I forgot. Had you ever been in a mill before?
Yeah,
Before you went to work there?
I was in a mill in Greensboro, White Oak. I guess I might have been about 12 then.
12 years old working in a mill?
But I didn't work there very long, and we moved to North Coolamy.
What'd you do over there?
I tacked.
Tacked. Was there any difference working over there and working down here in
Well,
Coolamy?
I can't remember too much about it,
Yeah, I bet.
but I worked.
Now, we were wondering about all the parents who worked in the mills and the children. How did they look after the children? How did they take care of the children? Did the children bring the babies down to be nursed in the factory, that kind of thing?
Well, part-time.
Well, let me ask you, okay? Okay, do you remember, when people worked in the mill, who took care of the children?
Well, we had a colored girl part of the time. Part of the time I worked one shift. After they split shifts, I worked one shift. My husband worked another shift. When I worked, he took care of them. When he worked, I took care of them. And part of the time we had a colored girl.
Did they bring the babies down there for the women to feed them or to nurse them?
No. Some of the women at one time or another would go out to nurse the babies.
Outside?
Yeah, go home.
Go home?
Yeah. But I never did.
And they'd have to come back to work after that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd go home for, say, depending on where they lived, for maybe an hour.
Mm.
Ask her if she remembers what they paid the colored women.
You remember what you paid the women to look after the children?
I believe it was $3 a week.
$3 a week. Now you can't find a babysitter for $3 an hour.
I think it's $3 a week. And she did the housework too.
Did she do the cooking too?
Some. She done some cooking, but not all of it.
I remember we had
Her
one.
name was Tilly.
Tilly.
And then another one, let's see, Flemings, Bessie Flemings, and her mother, I can't think of her mother's name, but Bessie Flemings used to clean up and stay some. And Aunt Mag, we called her Aunt Mag. She helped clean up and look after the kids some. The last one I had was Tilly, a young black girl.
I remember, colored ladies looking after us when I was little. I guess the one that sticks out in my mind the most was named Louise. And she would pile all the neighborhood children up in her car and take us up to her house and give us ice cream, bring us back.
I don't remember her.
Mama, I didn't know about all this stuff until we started talking, about things that happened in the mill and happened around town and all this. And, we found this picture of you, this old picture.
Yeah.
You remember this picture?
Sure.
When was it made?
Down here on Cross Street on the front porch.
What year was that? What year was that?
I don't know, but I was 14.
Oh.
Figure it out.
You were pretty back then. Well, you still are, but, you were pretty. Those shoes, though.
Yeah.
Those shoes lace all the way up.
Yeah, they was button shoes.
Were they?
Yeah, had a button hook. You took that hook and put it on them buttons and pulled it through the buttonhole.
Did it take a long time?
Yeah.
Did it?
I was married in them shoes.
Were you?
Yeah.
This one here.
That's part of the spinning room, but I can't remember what it was for.
Really? This is Papa right here,
Yeah.
right? These ladies that run the spinning frames.
Yeah, they were spinners.
It looks like it was made during Christmas or something like that because they got presents in their hands.
I can't remember what it was made for.
Yeah.
Where are you?
She's not in here.
I'm not on there.
Okay, next.
Must have been special birthdays or something. I really can't remember.
Yeah. You remember this one?
Yeah, that was made by my husband in the office, in the spin room, sitting behind the desk.
Mm. Let's see what else we got in here. Is that you and Papa?
Yeah,
Yeah, where that looks like it was made in the mountains.
it was.
Yeah.
Okay, now pull out the newspaper.
Okay. This is an old newspaper.
That was a mill. Ask her that if that was a mill.
Was this a meal paper?
Mm-hmm.
The mill put it out.
Yeah, and it come out every week or every month. I don't remember which. I believe it's every week. It's put out with the mill. Mary White named it the Urban Chatter.
Really? Mm.
Okay, Jamie, let's cut. I think we've got that. Except that I want to just repeat them, Jamie.
Y'all gonna be the talk of the town now.
Oh,
All these people over here.
Hmm.
Cars from New York. I like that ring.
that's my mother's ring.
It's pretty.
Them pitiful looking.
I scratch mine.
I ain't got no balance. I fall around. I fell the other day and hurt my elbow.
Really?
Hurt my head. I can't get up when I fall. I have to crawl somewhere.
Well, that's in her ear, isn't it? That's in her ear.
No, I don't know what. No, it's. I don't know what it is, Sandy. Old age, you say.
Really?
That's what the doctor tells me.
Oh, it ain't.
Yeah.
Age is not the answer to everything.
I don't know.
Everything he don't know what it is. It's old age, right?
Yeah.
And if you're young, everything he don't know what it is, it's a virus.
Every time he goes to the doctor, he says, "Your age." He said he couldn't do nothing for my feet and legs.
Really? Maybe you need to go to another doctor.
I went to the shop.
Please don't walk on the porch, I'm rolling.
Okay.
You know, we didn't know about this gentleman over here.
What about him?
Didn't take his name down. This man with the black hair, he's 78.
Mm-hmm.
He's been working here since 1931.
That's can't tell from here. Alexander?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alexander.
Amazing. The hell? What does he do with his hair? Is he dyeing his hair?
Probably.
I'm gonna start doing that too. They look so much younger.
Uh-huh.
What color was he then?
Oh, I had rich black hair
Really?
until I was 23. Something like that. It started going.
So it was darker than him. Those are friends of your daddy's, huh? They all went to school together?
I don't know that other man. He's tired.
He's funny. Isn't he?
He's tired.
He got it made, hadn't he?
I gotta go to the bathroom. And they got me taped down.
Huh?
I gotta go to the bathroom and they got me taped down.
Better settle.
Okay. Daddy, you know, I didn't know any of the stuff that I've been finding out until we started talking. You were talking about the power that the superintendent had, you know, around town.
Well, the really, in a, like Coolmere Mill Village, the superintendent, you really say was the king. Everything went through him. If you got a house, you had to go to the superintendent to get one. The superintendent, anything that happened, it had to go through him. Like I got caught stealing peanuts one time. I didn't have to worry about the law. My daddy got called up in the superintendent's office on a Monday morning. And the same thing happened with people, men that drink. If the superintendent would find out that they were drinking over the weekend, he would have them in his office Monday morning chewing them out. He didn't do a lot of firing, but they were really afraid of the superintendent of the mill. And he, in the houses, he kind of classed the people where they lived in the town. And it was his own class. It might have been by how many children they had, or what type job they had in the plant. The people that lived on Main and Davis Street were considered a little better class people than the ones that lived on Duke and Watt. And it was more how he felt, not that there were people were that much different. He thought this guy was a little better guy than that guy.
That's what class he wanted to put you in.
That's why what class he wanted to put you in.
What about, when you stole those peanuts, was there a fear that Papa would lose his job?
No,
He just got chewed out.
no, I didn't think I'd get caught.
Oh, okay. I mean, when he went to the superintendent, did
No, I
he fear
didn't.
he was going to lose his job?
No, I didn't have any fear of him losing his job. In fact, I didn't know he had to go to the superintendent. I found out when he got home.
Yeah, I bet so. The hard way, too,
Yeah.
right? Do you think somebody having power like that, did that influence bringing a union into the mill, or?
Yes, it actually happened that like a young girl got pregnant. She wasn't married. They not only fired the daddy and mother, but they run them out of the town. They had to move out of Coolin.
It's terrible.
I guess different towns depended on the different superintendents, but this one was strictly, he was a religious superintendent. You wasn't forced to go to church or anything like that, but you were a little better thought of if you went to church. And they lived in a different part of town. They lived on a street by themselves. All supervisors had their, the main supervisors, managers, superintendents, and so forth, had their own section of town that they lived in.
They didn't want to associate with the workers, the everyday workers. Do you think this was more or less like maybe slavery?
Well, back then in the 30s, really, textile people were, I just call them, they were white slaves. That's all they were. And because everything, your whole life was controlled by the plant or by the superintendent. Everything was owned by the company, all the stores. We did have a recreation area. It was owned by the company. The drugstore, bank, every building was owned by the company. But even the doctor's office. But they got them. They rented them from the company.
Right.
But the actual grocery and dry goods, clothing, appliances was a company store. They owned that store, and they got the profit from it.
How were the prices? Were they?
They were not.
reasonable?
Their prices were not unreal,
Really?
and you could actually charge the stuff at no interest or anything like that. And
Do you have a certain time to pay it off though?
no, you paid. You told them what you could pay when you, like $1 a week or whatever you could pay.
Really?
You could even charge your groceries.
Hmm.
But now you usually had to pay for your groceries in full.
Just your groceries.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the efficiency people that used to come into mills and check the jobs?
Yes. They started what they call a stretch-out system. This started in around 44. It was before I got back in service. And the people in the plant call it the stretch-out system, but it was really a Stevens system. Stevens sent an engineer in here, and he took local people and trained them as time study and what we call frequency checkers. They studied the job, and it gave you a full 8-hour job. It was in a way kind of fair. They figured a fatigue time in it, and then they would had people that what they call the frequency checkers would check different departments, different jobs, to what kind of downtime they had and so forth. And if the job got too overloaded, they would cut it down. If it wasn't overloaded, they would raise it.
Did they ever find any that were overloaded?
Yes.
Did
it would depend on the type of stuff that they were running, whether it was like a coarse or a fine material.
Yeah.
If you run a coarse material, it was harder to run. and you had more breakage. And I was actually in a frequency checker in all three departments. I checked the spinning room one day, the card room another day, and the Wii room another day.
Oh, you did that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
I did very little time study.
Yeah.
The time study was a better paying job, and I didn't get to it.
You didn't ever ride people. You know, Mama was telling us a while ago about she had a checker one day and said she still didn't like that checker to this day.
That was a woman.
You know who it is.
Yeah.
Did that ever have? How did people feel about that? The checkers.
Well, they were local people, and I don't say they really were too bitter at them. They didn't like it to say what you'd be checked, but they didn't. They
I don't
didn't
like being
run.
checked.
They wasn't real bitter at the people that did the checking.
Yeah.
Because a lot, like me, a lot of my kin people, I would check on my own kin people.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd they like that?
Yeah, they didn't say anything.
You were telling me about.
Okay, hold on just a moment. Okay, roll when you're ready, Jim. Roll.
Okay. We were talking earlier about an engineer being thrown out of the plant.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
Coming through in the middle of the night.
You want me to start over with this question?
Sure.
Okay.
Make sure they're done.
Yeah, they're through.
Okay, next is someone knocks on the door.
Okay.
Or the phone rings. You were telling me about an engineer being thrown out of the plant. What happened?
Yeah, this was when they were first organizing the union. Plus, they were putting the stretch-out system in, the Stevens system. And one of the engineers come into the weave room. And my cousin raised the window and throwed him out the window. And he's lucky he's on the ground floor.
Why'd they throw him out? Just
Because he was an engineer.
did he institute the Stevens system or whatever
He
that was? Or did he work in the plant?
He was part of the Stevens
Oh,
people.
oh, okay. Did anything happen to, anybody in the family after from
No,
the company?
nothing to him either.
They didn't do anything to anybody over that?
No.
When they were striking down at this mill, did Papa have any kind of did he have anything to do with it? Did he have to do anything like stand guard or anything like that?
In the 34, when these people were coming around trying to close other plants that wasn't unionized, the mill officials felt that they would come into this plant and try to close it down. So they had the men that worked there that had guns to stand guard duty, especially on the dam here where the water fed down and fed the water wheel that generated the power. And my daddy had a little .32 pistol, so he had to stand. They stood guard around the mill yard too. But it didn't last long because the National Guard was called in.
Oh, that was before the guard came in.
That was before they got here.
Oh.
But when they came in, a group did come from here. I don't know where they were from Salisbury, Kannapolis, or where they were from. But the National Guard had set up sandbags. They come down one street, and the National Guard routed them out another street,
Really?
and they had no more trouble with them.
Could you describe the National Guard here?
I was only about 9 years old at that time. I know in the mill yard they had a machine gun set up and had sandbags around it, and the guards actually walked around. And in fact, some of them stayed here. I think 2 or 3 of them married girls here before they left, or after they left. But that's about all I remember about what the guards did.
Would you think they were necessary?
No,
Talk about that.
I think that it was the mill officials thought it would be worse than it really was. I don't think it was really as bad as they thought it would be. The mill officials thought it would be better. They wouldn't have called in the National Guard. But as far as the people, I don't think they thought it was that bad.
You remember when you were little and Mama was having to work in the mill?
Yeah.
How did that affect you?
Well, till my mother went to work, we didn't have a heck of a lot. And her going to work gave us more, so I reckon we were probably glad of it, because I had a little bit of age on me, but my daddy worked on one shift, mother on another shift, so we wasn't really, say, by ourselves very long. It was just 2 of us then, me and a brother. And if it hadn't been, we had really maybe more than a lot of children in Coolmey did, because my mother had a credit with Sears and Roebuck's. And we were the first in Coolmey to have the Sears and Roebuck streamlined skates. And I was probably one of the first to have a bicycle in this town. And when she wasn't working, our family had it pretty tough.
Yeah.
We had to walk. Well, we had to walk about 1.5 miles to school, and then you had to run home and eat lunch. And Daddy would fix our lunch for us.
They didn't have lunches in school back then?
No, they didn't have nothing but teachers.
Talk about the education.
Well, I say I didn't really get a good education. Could be partly my fault, because in my senior year I went to work, and I like a half a unit of finishing high school, and I tried to go back and do that half a unit plus work, and I just couldn't do it. We had good teachers, and I say in this time we probably had as good an education as anybody else for these times. But today my education probably wouldn't equal a 6th grade now.